Meow mix, please deliver. Oh, hello there. So, within the greater mathematics of physics, at times we run across certain infinities, singularities, if you would, or at least it gives the appearance of singularities. Why do I say this? Well, all I know is, oh, what's this? Henry Segreman. Explain the hyperbolic figure 8 knots complement.
So one of the most interesting things about the figure 8 knot complement is that its complement is actually a hyperbolic manifold.
Hyperbolic, you say?
It's one of the simplest examples of hyperbolic manifolds.
A simple example, you say?
So where did this come from? So this is closely related to the symmetric figure 8 knot.
So isn't that interesting? What is that? It's essentially a trefoil with a twist. Why do I say this? Because essentially, at least for the figure 8 knots complement, basically the rounded one there, if you take two ideal tetrahedra, if you can glue them together and do the appropriate Dane surgeries, you essentially come up with that thing. That thing is essentially generated from the actions of the hyperbolic figure 8 knot there. So that's what Thad Roberts' analysis of the hyperbolic figure 8 knot yields, which yields this, which for some reason, if you take a look at that and then you actually pop over to, a little bit of analysis of a black hole. I had to switch the screen thingy. So, looky. What's going on there? So, basically that's the more recently generated image that they believe you're seeing. So basically you're kind of seeing like the around the event horizon itself, you're seeing basically a cloud of whatever particulates, gas, electrons, whatever it might be, forming around it. Now, what would the actions of that be? So I have to stop screen, share it again because you need to go in and out because it focuses on the tab. That's how these things work. So there we go. Continue, Mr. Segreman. Professor.
So the symmetric figure 8 knots, as I said in that video, it was designed inside of S3, the unit sphere in four-dimensional space. And then we chose a projection point in projecting it via stereographic projection to three-dimensional space so we can print it. So where did we choose this projection point? Well, so one reason to choose the point that we did was so that it retained as many of the symmetries of the figure 8 knot as we could in R3. So where is the projection point? Well, it's out at infinity. But one way to think about where it is in terms of the antipodal point.
Infinity,
so the antipodal point in S3 to the point which is out at infinity in this projection is right in the middle.
Thank you, sir. Now, again, I'm not saying that this explains everything. I'm just saying I think this might explain many things. To continue explaining things, continue, Thad.
Element becomes balanced under local cyclic action by dividing over the division boundary of the hyperbolic figure 8 knot. The minimal persistent geometry.
That's fascinating.
When William Thurston looked at this ideal geometry, he discovered that its internal complement decomposes into a union of two regular ideal hyperbolic tetrahedra.
I like triangles.
He then famously formulated his geometrization conjecture, claiming that all three manifolds admit a certain kind of geometric decomposition involving 8 geometries, most of which are hyperbolic. Gregory Perelman proved this conjecture in 2002-2003.
So it's taken a while for us to get here.
Thurston's decomposition was a brilliant addition to our knowledge of the hyperbolic figure 8 knot, but it didn't tell us everything there is to know. That is, it wasn't explicit enough to define every feature of this minimum geometry.
Well, long story short, to my recollection, as far as I understand it, in order to help solve it, you would actually need to solve the hyperbolic vortex equation, which, in order to help solve, a little hint might help. And when I say a little hint, I'm essentially talking about solving the fine structure constant, which is essentially what somebody on the internet, after Thad had gotten stumped for a number of years, he's just like, somebody directed him, they'd noticed there was a conversation going on online. And it basically within, I think, 5 significant digits or so that nobody had done before for writing an equation to actually predict the Fide structure constant, which we know to, like, I don't know, 27 or 32 digits or something. Something that we know pretty well. It's also a dimensionless metric. That's important, I hear. And what do you end up coming up with? Well, you end up solving the hyperbolic vortex equation, because basically it ended up being, was it 1 over x plus x plus 1 over x cubed divided by 2 pi. It's the 2 pi is the twist, 2 times around. I don't know. That's kind of what apparently drew me into this whole quest now that I think about it. Yes, I totally did say quest right there. Because when I heard Dr. Eric Weinstein on Joe Rogan explain, he's like, we have these things called spinners. What is a spinner? Well, it goes around twice. What? It needs to spin twice to get back to where it was. Nani? And it goes over the toruses and the donuts and how they loop around. And I found that fascinating. They did a very fancy, like, the Klein bottle twist or dance or something with the thing. I'm like, that's actually very beautiful. This might explain many things. And apparently, once you actually did that, and then you just start hacking away utilizing, I don't know, maybe something like Wolfram Alpha, that these are tools we have now that all I know is Professor Einstein and company, Professor Feynman, and all the crew. It may have made things a lot easier having all that knowledge in there rather than having to write it down on a whole bunch of cards. Hope you got everything right, and then feed through the cards, feed through the cards, feed through the cards for specifically what you want rather than seeing, I don't know, approximate causal relations utilizing the power of, I don't know, metadata. I'm just saying. I see you there. I see you there, Zach. As well as shout out to my patrons, Dave M. and Joe Franco. This broadcast is helped made possible by viewers like you. So I'm not saying that this explains the infinities away, but technically if you're traversing across something that you could essentially transform into, I don't know, 2 spheres, 2 cylinders, if basically you go through enough different eigenstates and everything, I'm pretty sure the homomorphisms are going to stay consistent. Again, I'm not professionally trained. I'm just a dude that's listened to a lot of very smart people on the internet. I don't see it's wrong yet. It is yet to be falsified, but then again, we need to continue our quest, because we're in this together. Ooh, yeah. God, I miss the Macho Man. But hey, peace out, everybody. Thank you all for watching. And you got to remember, come on and get your log. Everyone needs a log. Come on and get your log. Everyone needs a log. Log from Blammo. Again, apparently logarithms explain a lot. Shout out to Jen. Peace, everybody.
Have you guys checked out the Memes of Destruction's channel? He's an interesting dude. I